This is Monkey World in Dorset, the largest ape and monkey rescue centre on the planet. Today on Monkey Life, Orang-utan Aris needs surgery. His knee injury is worse than expected.
Now, the worry here is that he could lose his knee completely, and we've got to try and save that for him.
Chimps Patricia and Hananya finally kiss and make up. And Sheamus is in for a shock when he meets big male Paco. It's early morning at the park. And down at the bachelor pad, 8-year-old Seamus has woken up in his new home for the first time. Yesterday, he left the chimp nursery and moved in with the bachelor boys. His meeting with old friend Turkish Charlie went well, so they were left together overnight. This morning, the pair are still at ease with each other, so animal manager Jeremy is keen to introduce Seamus to the next bachelor, 16-year-old Paco. Paco may look big and scary, but Jeremy knows all the bachelors very well, and he's got a plan.
Paco's quite a nice, fair sort of character, really. He's ambitious, he's very bright. As chimps go, he's quite a good politician, and that's hopefully going to be to Seamus's advantage.
And there's another important reason for Seamus to meet the big male. Paco may be in the running for alpha male of the group one day, so it's important that the two become friends. And because of his size, Seamus won't be a threat to Paco or the other bachelors.
He is quite a small chap by comparison, well, very small comparison to this lot. So therefore, you look at him and you don't think, goodness me, this bloke's going to take my job. You look at him and think, ah, look at him, isn't he cute? Well, hopefully, that's what we're banking on. He's a lovely little boy, but he's also a moron. And what better place for him than with all the rest of the yobs? So, I mean, that's why everybody else is in here. I mean, look at Sammy there. He's as daft as a brush, but he's a nice guy. So therefore, Seamus ought to fit in now. He'll find a niche and become one of the brainless yobs, because that's what he is. And then he's in the best place. What better place for him than, you know, not to have to use his brain.
Paco is ready and waiting to meet Seamus.
When we let him through here and let them see each other through the mesh, and then be ready to open the door if it's looking good.
Okay, here we go. Come on, Sheamus.
Seamus is aware another chimp is behind the door, so he's understandably nervous.
Good boy.
Paco is much bigger than Seamus and could potentially hurt him.
Good boy, mate.
To everyone's relief, Paco stays calm, which is a positive sign.
That's good. Well done.
But the calm atmosphere doesn't last long, and things quickly take a turn for the worse.
Good boy.
Yeah, let's just see what happens now. See if they calm.
A fire extinguisher is used to break up the meeting. The harmless CO2 gas and the noise is enough to make Paco back off.
And he came in. If Sheamus hadn't have screamed, we might have been okay, because Paco came in big but not attacking. So if Sheamus had just sat there and stuck his lip out and said hello, we might have been okay. But as it was, Sheamus was scared. Perfectly reasonable, perfectly normal.
My interpretation, he did very well.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's obviously ignorant because he's never been in this situation particularly.
Paco's a little bit of a, you know, we don't know what to expect from him because he's sort of reached maturity now. He's all grown up.
He wants to impress, he wants to prove his point, look at me, how big I am. And he clearly thought, you know, this is a good person to demonstrate on.
But everybody's good, and now we'll reassess. We fall back on bringing in all of the easy guys.
And later, Seamus meets the first of the easy guys, Spanish Charlie. But his experience with Paco has made him nervous.
Because right now he's scared of everything. A door opens and he's like, well, oh my God, what's going to happen there?
And it looks like even the easy guys are difficult.
Right out, right out, right out, right out.
And Orangutan Aris needs urgent surgery. He has a serious bite wound on his knee.
It's not until it gets really bad do you see the symptoms, and then, obviously you don't have much of an insight into the inside of his knee.
When Sheamus meets the rest of the bachelor boys, he'll find daily life in their enclosure isn't always crazy. Right now, they're outside taking it easy. This is a group of males, so naturally there's the odd flare-up. But on the whole, they're a settled group and usually get along just fine. Buxom is a boisterous and occasionally aggressive chimp, but not today. Today he's in the mood for grooming and he's focused on 27-year-old Charlie. Charlie takes life slowly and he's only too happy to be pampered by Buxom. But Buxom's on a grooming mission and he's moving on to Jimmy. Jimmy's new to the bachelor group, but he's settled in well and he's popular with the whole troop. Hopefully life can be as enjoyable as this for Seamus when he finally gets used to the fact that he's now one of the bachelor boys. Meanwhile, Jimmy's just happy enjoying Buxom's unusually calm, playful mood. Maybe because he knows it's unlikely to last long. They are the bachelor boys after all. Over with the orangutans, there's concern for 4-year-old Aris. Yesterday, the primate care staff noticed a bite wound to his knee. Today, it hasn't improved, and vet Mike Nathan thinks he needs surgery.
Over the weekend, the hole needs swollen up and it's burst and there's pus coming out of it. Now, the worry here is that if this has gone into his joint and he's not using his leg properly at all, then he's got what we call a septic arthritis. The pus is coming out from in between the coverings around the bone, and that's really very serious. It loses knee completely, and we've got to try and save that for him. So let's keep fingers crossed.
Aris will need to be sedated before Mike can take a look at his leg. The easiest and least stressful way is for animal manager Jeremy to use a blowpipe to inject Aris with anaesthetic. But he needs to be 100% sure of his aim before he takes the shot.
Well done, well done.
The team don't know who bit Aris's knee because it happened during the night. But as he's quite a feisty young orang, it's likely he was being too boisterous and one of the adults told him off.
And you cover yourself down there.
Mike needs to ensure Aris is fully sedated before he can begin his examination. As he isn't completely asleep, he's being topped up with anaesthetic gas.
Still in the limbo.
Mike's first job is to shave the hair around the wound. This will allow him to get a proper look at the infected area.
Now that he's able to be examined properly, where he's been sucking this, you can see, as we look at, see the fluid coming out, that almost certainly is coming out from the knee joint. But that means that this potentially is the infection is coming from inside the joint cavity. And just cleaning this up, I'm going to bandage the whole leg to carry him through to X-ray.
Mike's almost certain that Aris does have septic arthritis, an infection inside the knee joint. If they don't operate now, he could lose his leg. The primate care staff have close bonds with all the animals. When they're ill, it's a worrying time.
The thing is, with a lot of animals, but particularly with anthropoids, is that they don't show symptoms. It's a weakness. So, it's not until it gets really bad do you see the symptoms, and then, obviously you don't have much of an insight into the inside of his knee. Are you ready?
It's important that Mike takes x-rays. He needs to be sure there isn't a break or fracture to Aris's leg bone or knee joints.
Okay, we'll get...
But the x-rays look good. There seems to be no damage to the bone.
There's nothing untoward. I didn't expect to see any changes so quickly, but it's sensible to have taken the pictures and make sure that there's no break or anything like that, you know, any crack in the bone that there could be, and then we'd be doing something foolish. Okay, let's see. We're now going to open up the knee.
Later, surgery reveals the damage to Aris's knee is much worse than they first thought.
The crack goes from there till there.
No, I don't think so. God, I hope not.
And Chimp Patricia finally makes friends with alpha male Hananya.
We're at a good place now, hopefully. Yeah, each day you see improvement with her.
Okay.
At Monkey World's local vet surgery, Mike Nathan is ready to operate on Orangutan Aris, following a bite wound to his knee. On the operating table, Mike has bandaged Aris's leg, leaving just the wound area uncovered. This will prevent the infection spreading.
Can you hear? It's not the infection outside the joint that you're worried about, it's the infection inside the joint.
With the area shaved, it's clear to see that Aris did get bitten by one of the other orangs.
Right, let's see where this goes if we can. Right, I'm going to incise down the side here.
Mike needs to make an incision to the side of Aris's knee so that he can clean out the infected area.
I know I'm right in terms of what's come in and out of this, which is joint fluid. And I've now got to flush this out, and then we suture it back together again. Right, you ready?
The area will be flushed out with saline solution, which is salt water. This will hopefully clean out all the infected pus and joint fluid.
Thank you.
As a precaution, Mike's called in his veterinary partner, Dr. Cesar Sastre, who has more experience in bone joints.
I just want your opinion.
But Cesar immediately spots a serious problem not picked up by the x-ray.
All right.
It's a split.
No, I don't think so. God, I hope not.
No.
Hang on, I haven't seen that. You may be right. There's always that
There's a line in there.
a line across
How
there.
old is this? Oh, this is a baby, no?
Yeah, I'm not going to do.
Okay.
There's a little crack, isn't there?
Yeah,
You're
it
quite
is.
right.
Despite the x-rays appearing normal, Cesar has found a crack in Aris's
Yeah,
bone.
right there.
Ah, the crack goes there, from there till there.
Too widely. But that-
Does this mean the injury is more serious than Mike first thought? And Alison is surprised by Spanish Charlie's reaction when he meets Sheamus. Over in Hananya's chimp troop, the team have been trying to get Patricia to feel comfortable in the company of alpha male Hananya. Making friends is a very important part of chimp life, but Patricia and Hananya just didn't get along, so they had to be separated. But they've been gradually reintroduced over the past 2 months. And now it looks like their relationship has finally turned a corner. Patricia's wary, but she is letting Hananya get close to her. This is a very big step in the right direction.
She does really like Hananya and she wants to be near him, but she was always quite anxious in his company and not quite sure how to respond to him and what was the best way to really build the relationship between herself and Hananya. Although she recognised that he was the leader, she wasn't sure the best way to approach him, and so she wanted to build a relationship with him, but she couldn't get over the anxiety of, I suppose, how much bigger he was in comparison to her. She was always very aware of where he was, and she took all the displays very personally. Rather than just getting out of the way, she would scream in anxiety, and that would then unfortunately draw attention to herself, which was the last thing that she wanted to do.
The park never gave up on Hananya and Patricia, and it's starting to pay off. All Hananya ever wanted was for Patricia to show him a little respect as her leader. And by presenting her rump to him, she's doing exactly that. In turn, Hananya puts his finger in Patricia's mouth, which shows he trusts her not to bite him. And offering her face like this is a sign of ultimate trust. Patricia and Hananya are finally getting along. And now she's allowing him to get close and showing him respect, he should stop harassing her.
We're at a good place now, hopefully. There's been very few incidences between Hananya and Patricia, and we've seen a lot of very subtle but very important improvements in Patricia's behaviour. She really seems to be starting to get an understanding of the hierarchy of the group and how it works, and really her place within that hierarchy. She's much more relaxed in Hananya's company. She doesn't respond to him in the same way. The screaming has definitely reduced. She presents to him now. She's even been seen grooming him and him grooming her. But yeah, each day you see improvement with her.
It's taken 3 years to get to this point, but it's proof that patience and persistence works. Hopefully, Patricia will now fully settle into chimp life and find her place within the group. Back in the pavilions, Sheamus is still getting along well with Turkish Charlie, but it's time to meet the next of the bachelors, Spanish Charlie. He's a nice chimp, so hopefully he'll give Sheamus a better reception than Paco. But Turkish Charlie has become protective of Sheamus, and he immediately lets Spanish Charlie know it. This sends Spanish Charlie off into a display, and he takes it out on Turkish Charlie. Sheamus wisely backs off. In fact, everyone backs off in the hope Charlie will calm down.
Step out, please. Right out.
Chimp meetings can be feisty, and Sheamus is going to have to learn this if he's going to settle in with the bachelors. But it's not as serious as it looks.
Spanish Charlie, I mean, from the very beginning, that's been one of his sort of like distinguishing characteristics, is that he sort of launches off into displays at really inappropriate times, or, you know, sometimes when you can't even figure out why he's doing it. So, you know, if Sheamus can learn from this that you can be a big male, you can display, you can make a heck of a lot of noise, and you know what, you can even run by and slap me once, but that's not the end of the world. That's basically desensitizing Sheamus, because right now he's scared of everything. A door opens and he's like, well, my God, what's going to happen there?
Now Spanish Charlie has calmed down, the two Charlies are happy to forget the whole thing and enjoy playtime. But Sheamus isn't used to Spanish Charlie's outbursts, so he's backed off into another bedroom. Curiosity has got the better of Spanish Charlie. If Sheamus won't go to him, he'll go to Sheamus.
Good boy. That's good. Well done.
Charlie went up, actually gave him a really nice hug. That was good. And then he started sort of pushing him around a little bit, and then Sheamus gave out a little yelp. But when he did, Spanish Charlie backed right off. Oh, sorry. And Sheamus was a little bit surprised and pleased by that. So that was a good step. We'll be able to leave the three of them together overnight now.
Sheamus loves to have fun, so hopefully the two Charlies' play session will soon be too much for Sheamus to resist. Back with Orangutan Aris, vets Mike Nathan and Cesar Sastre have found a cracked bone whilst treating an infected bite wound.
What about now? The crack goes there, from there till there, and
But
finishes
he's a young
in there.
animal. As long as we can control the infection, all that will heal.
Luckily for Aris, this fracture shouldn't cause any permanent damage. With the wound thoroughly cleaned, the operation is almost over.
We're going to close the joint up now, and as we close it, we're going to put this collagen sponge in here.
the sponge has been soaked in antibiotics.
And it'll give a slow release of antibiotic in the joint without getting very, very high levels of antibiotic around the rest of this little youngster's body. And that's quite important because potentially the drug is a little bit toxic, but it's the best drug to use for a potential septic arthritis.
Part of the longest ligament. Yeah.
At this point, a human patient would have a special tube inserted so the wound could be regularly drained and flushed out. Aris can't have a tube because he wouldn't tolerate it, so Mike needs to be as sure as he can that he's flushed out all the infection.
Right, we've just closed it all up, and that will hopefully make Aris feel a lot better.
The sponge should last several weeks. It'll eventually break down and disappear.
Yeah.
Right, that's it.
That knee's going to swell up. It's going to be painful. We've given him some local anaesthetic there, and then we hope that's it. He'll always have arthritis in that knee, but they're incredible. They can grip with everything. He's quite a powerful animal.
Mike is happy that the operation has gone well. Aris will now be taken back to the park to recover, and he'll receive lots of TLC from the primate care staff. Next time, it's a Monkey Life special in Chile, South America. The team have joined forces with the military to fly 88 capuchin monkeys to Monkey World. It'll be the park's most challenging rescue ever.
It's never been done before, nothing like it has been done. The whole mission that we've taken on is really nobody in their right mind would take it on.
And for the 4 capuchins already living at the park, their lives will never be the same again. This is Monkey World in Dorset, the largest ape and monkey rescue centre on the planet. Today's programme is a Monkey Life special in Chile, South America. The team have joined forces with the military to fly 88 capuchin monkeys to Monkey World. It'll be the park's most challenging rescue ever.
The whole mission that we've taken on is really nobody in their right mind would take it on.
And for the 4 capuchins already living at the park, their lives will never be the same again. Monkey World is home to 15 different species of primate. One of these is the capuchin monkey. At present, 4 live at the park, but they're about to be joined by a whole lot more. 7,000 miles away, in South America, Park Director Alison and Animal Manager Jeremy are preparing to start the biggest rescue mission in the history of the park.
We're really pleased to finally get here because it's been over a year since we first started talking about rescuing some capuchin monkeys in a laboratory in Chile, and finally we've made it here, so really excited.
This university laboratory has been home to 88 capuchins that have been used for medical research. Studies have now finished, but these primates are institutionalized and can't be released into the wild. So, Monkey World has stepped in. But this rescue mission has been fraught with difficulties.
There were all sorts of political problems, animal protesters at the lab threatening the lives of the researchers and so on. So the lab really had to make a decision and say, you have to come take the monkeys now, and you can take whatever you can take.
The Monkey World team had planned to transfer the capuchins gradually in smaller groups, but those plans have now changed. All 88 are to be moved at once. It's a massive task, and today, Alison and Jeremy are going to meet the monkeys for the first time.
Well, what we're trying to do is get a basic assessment of what everybody's mental state is, and also, of course, any physical problems or any management husbandry problems. Some individuals don't take anesthetic well. Some individuals, are a little bit crazy.
Running in circles around the cages can be typical behaviour for monkeys kept in small environments.
The abnormal behavior doesn't bother us so much because it's quite likely that when we get them out of this environment and into a new environment, that might all go away.
The staff here are worried about their safety and don't want to be recognised, but it's clear to the team that, although the conditions here are very basic, the monkeys have been looked after well and their overall physical state is better than expected.
A lot of the worries for me when I came here would be to the husbandry that they've had, and just looking at the way these people are with the animals, they clearly are really caring people looking after the animals in this situation, and that's really going to make our life so much easier when they get back to Monkey World. I mean, it's not going to be easy by any standards, but it could make something possible rather than impossible.
Later, things take a turn for the worse for one of the capuchins, and he needs emergency surgery. And the team discovers there might not be enough room to get all the capuchins on their rescue plane. Alison and Jeremy have a tough decision to make.
Jeremy and I are trying to think that if we have to leave half a dozen behind, which ones are the candidates that would have to remain.
While the team is busy in Chile, back at Monkey World, last-minute preparations are being made for the capuchins' arrival. The staff have spent weeks designing and building the capuchins' new homes and enclosures, and they've been creative, developing their final, elaborate design.
What we've done for the capuchins, we started off, primate care staff got involved and we made a model. And from the model, the structure's gone up. We've put in staircases that we've never done before in the park, a spiral staircase, a different dimension to the enclosure, and hopefully the capuchins will use it. There's more hose pipe to go up, there's nets to go in, there's rope bridges to go up.
Everything's user-friendly, everything's homegrown, if you like, as well, as much as we can. And it's environmentally friendly as well, as much as we can. There's no bad things in here, if you like. Everything's unique and growing as we can help it.
The park has designed this enclosure with multi-levels and, most importantly, lots of space. In the wild, capuchin monkeys forage everywhere for food. From the highest part of the tree canopy, right down to the forest floor.
It's a big enclosure. The capuchins that are coming have been in solitary confinement. We know that much. But as Monkey World has always done, we will always give as much space as possible that we can afford for any species in the park. And I think this is just going to be absolutely wonderful. It's a new lease of life. It's what Monkey World's about. It's about giving back what's been taken away from the primates in the park.
Back in Chile, it's day 2, and the enormity of the task is starting to sink in.
The whole mission that we've taken on is really nobody in their right mind would take it on. I mean, it's never been done before. Nothing like it has been done. We've learned so much along the way, but it's like any science. The more you know, the more you realise you don't know anything.
One crucial thing Alison and Jeremy have to do is assess the monkeys' social skills. If there's going to be any chance of rehabilitating these capuchins, they're going to have to be able to interact with one another in a large group. Most of these primates have lived alone in cages, so it's a big risk, and just may not be possible. But Jeremy's pleased at how aware of one another the monkeys appear to be.
I mean, even though this animal can't see that animal, they're chatting away. You can hear them. They're all chatting away. They all know each other. So although they're going to be upset, and it's all going to be very new for them and all that stuff, they're not going to, they're going to be chatting away. They're going to be talking to each other, and that is going to really help them. It really is going to help them a lot.
And, even more surprising for the team, there's a noticeable hierarchy of dominance in each room. The alpha male in this one is 30-year-old Gorillon. And this morning, the team has noticed he has a medical problem.
He's got a swelling under his left eye, and that's almost definitely an infected canine tooth. So, with any dentist work, the first thing you've got to do is clear up the infection, which is causing the problem. So we've talked to the ladies here, and they're going to put him on some antibiotics, possibly give him a long-acting antibiotic, which will cover him till we get back to Monkey World. Still got a few miles to put on the clock, haven't you?
Some of the younger primates are let out during the day. This gives Jeremy more of a chance to observe how the monkeys react to one another.
He says, I'm not sure about you. I have that effect on people, don't worry. But he's dashing about all over these cages with the other animals in, and nobody's going for him. Nobody's biting his fingers or toes or tail or anything. Are we going to play this game? No? No? No, he says no.
The plan is to place these capuchins in 2 large groups back at Monkey World, and everything that Jeremy and the team have seen here is encouraging. It really looks as if they might adapt to life in the open.
And the sooner you're not number 124, but have a proper name, the better, I reckon. Isn't it?
Coming up, the transportation of the capuchin monkeys to England is being organised by the Chilean Air Force. But will all 88 be able to get on board the military aircraft?
There is some question mark now as to whether or not all of the boxes with their water bottles that sort of add a bit of extra dimension to it will all fit into the cargo bay area of the plane that we've been allotted.
And Monkey World's 4 resident capuchins are blissfully unaware that they'll soon be sharing their breakfast with another 88 of their own kind. In South America, the Monkey World team is facing a major problem with its mission to rescue 88 capuchin monkeys. The Chilean Air Force have offered to fly all the monkeys at once in a huge military aircraft. But they think there may not be enough room on board for all the transport boxes.
There is some question mark now as to whether or not all of the boxes with their water bottles that sort of add a bit of extra dimension to it will all fit into the cargo bay area of the plane. So we just now need to make a decision of, will they actually fit into the space provided? Otherwise, there might actually have to be some individuals that are left behind. So why everybody is out there sort of discussing boxes and dimensions of cargo holds right now, Jeremy and I are sitting down with all of the notes trying to think that if we have to leave half a dozen behind, which ones are the candidates that would have to remain.
At the moment, it's not looking good, but Alison is determined that they won't leave any monkeys behind, and she's come up with a plan.
What we can do is right now stack up 4 to make sure that we are feeling that they are strong enough. Jeremy thinks that we could stack 6 high, no problem, so I think probably okay. Because it looks like we're going to be racking and stacking them a bit, but it's totally okay because we have very deep sort of trays underneath everybody and good ventilation all the way around. So
and these legs on the bottom,
perfect.
These legs on the bottom will be great for airflow.
For airflow and everything. Yeah.
You know, that's quite a gap.
Some of the capuchins live as a pair, so in order to save more space, they'll be allowed to travel together. By saving every inch of space they can and stacking the travelling boxes, Alison, the Monkey World team and the Chilean Air Force finally managed to work out how to fit all 88 monkeys on board.
So not only are we going to be able to look in everybody's eyes in every single box for the entire journey, we'll be able to give them extra water and just meet their needs. So these guys have really outdone themselves. It's going to be a brilliant journey.
But the number may already be down to 87. Alpha male Gorillon's medication has not been enough to keep the infection in his canine tooth at bay. He needs surgery before he can travel to Monkey World.
He has infection in his tooth that caused a swelling on his face, which we have seen before, and now the dentists are cleaning it out, and they'll give him a root filling, which is really good for Gorilla because he is 30 years old. He's already missing one canine tooth, so being able to keep that extra canine tooth on the top is really good.
Gorillon will be given medication and carefully monitored for the next couple of days.
Day after tomorrow, I'm sure he'll be fine by then. You know, there'll be loads of antibiotic and painkiller and everything, so... New monkey.
This means that Gorillon will be able to make the trip to England, and he'll be much more comfortable. Back on the other side of the globe, the 4 capuchin monkeys who already live at Monkey World are blissfully unaware of the new arrivals headed their way. It's breakfast time, and today their fruit is being served with a difference, in jelly-filled bottles. Each of these 4 monkeys has a very different character, and nothing shows this more than when there's food on offer. First out is female, Terry. At the moment, she's the only capuchin girl at the park, and she's smart enough to know she has to get in quick before the boys show up and grab all the food. The keepers have placed the fruits in these bottles to make the monkeys work harder for their reward. Capuchins have long, dexterous fingers. This allows them to easily grasp fiddly objects, and it's certainly working on the fruity chunks. Next out is Tom. He's the boss, and he loves his food. But he can't see the point of all that work to get at the fruit. Especially since Terry's leftovers are lying around. Tom's going to have to try harder than that if he's going to remain alpha male after the arrival of the new capuchins from Chile. Finally, here's the most vulnerable member of the group, Shy Gizmo. He seems unsure of the bottles and keeps his distance. Just like the Chilean capuchins, Gizmo was found living in solitary confinement. So when he arrived at the park, he needed to learn to adapt to being with others of his own kind. Gizmo has been one of the park's more difficult monkeys to rehabilitate. The staff will have to keep a close eye on him in the weeks to come. Tom's decided to move on from the leftovers and have a go at a bottle himself. Capuchin monkeys are the most intelligent of all the South American primates, but this all seems a bit too taxing for Tom. While Tom is distracted, Gizmo seizes his opportunity. It's taken 2 long years to rehabilitate him, but at last he seems to be getting the idea of living and feeding with others. And this is great to see, as soon he'll be living with many, many more. In Chile, the mission has started to get all 88 capuchins ready and into their travel boxes. The first to go are the monkeys who already live in pairs.
It'll actually be a much more easy journey for them because they'll have companionship, and it makes it sort of more comfortable and friendly, and they can sort of hug each other on the whole journey. So those that were already paired up, we're leaving in pairs, transporting in their existing cages so that they feel familiar and don't get freaked out. So far so good.
But some of the monkeys who do have to move boxes aren't happy to just walk into them, and they need a little firm encouragement.
But that girl didn't want to go. And you get to a point when you've got to do something, and don't mess about. If you're going to catch her, catch her. Don't think, should I? No, just go for it. And she didn't even try to bite, and then it's done. But all that, she was getting upset with this method and that method and the other method, so just grab her and put her in a box. And it really is that simple, but you've got to go for it.
The job of loading the boxes onto the transport lorries has begun. The capuchins have not been sedated because it's dangerous to transport an animal unconscious. It's also less stressful if the monkeys are fully aware of everything going on throughout the journey.
And everybody's made the transition down into the truck really well. It's been a really nice, calm move, so it's a good start, really good start.
They know this is the best thing for the monkeys, but it's hard for the staff who've spent 20 years caring for them to say goodbye. "87 capuchins are boxed and ready to go. There's just one chap left. Gorillon has recovered well from his tooth op.
Don't worry, you're coming as well. We're not going without you, old man. No, we're not coming without you. Yeah, you're looking pretty good, aren't you? A bit confused about what's happening now. Yes, you are. So obviously we've still got to keep up the antibiotic and the TLC, and he'll be fine. See you in a bit.
For many of the capuchins, even just the trip to the airport will be the first time they've experienced the outside world. And once they get to the park, it'll be the first time they will have ever seen daylight.
Yeah, it's sort of amazing to think that these guys have never been outside in their lives, a lot of them. So this is the first feel of fresh air. Most of them are pretty calm, actually. You see, they're just sort of curious looking around, and I'm actually impressed how calm they are, considering that they've never been outside of that lab before.
The job of loading the capuchins onto the plane is a massive one. It'll take 25 people 5 hours to complete the task.
We've been up through the night boxing all of these guys up, and now standing here alongside a Hercules about to fly through Brazil and then into the Canary Islands and eventually on to UK, so pretty huge. Yeah, it doesn't get much huger.
It's dawn when the plane finally gets clearance to take off. And once in the air, it's back to business for the team.
None of them are screaming threats or alarm calls, so it's not bad. I think they're quite content. It's really warm in here. They'll like that. They're getting really nice snacks along the way. And for the first time in their lives, they're interacting with us, and nothing's going to be done to them. And that's the way it should be, and it's the way it's going to continue. And we're going to be doing a lot more of that at Monkey World. In fact, we've got everything lined up, branches, all kinds of stuff, more natural environment for them. So these guys have a lot more spoiling to be done.
After a very long day, the team finally gets a chance to get comfortable. Or as comfortable as they can. Next time. It's been a 2-day journey, but the Chilean capuchins finally land in the UK. It's treat time at the park, and alpha male Tom will do everything he can to get his hands on them. And there's bad news in the orangutan house. A couple of days ago, toddler Aris had a knee operation, but something has gone seriously wrong.
The next morning, he was found effectively in a state as if he'd had, in simple terms, some kind of stroke.
This is Monkey World in Dorset, the largest ape and monkey rescue centre on the planet. Today on Monkey Life. It's been a 2-day journey, but the Chilean capuchins have finally landed in the UK.
It's a bit chilly, so we've got to hurry up and try and get them off into the vehicles, and the trip back to Monkey World should be about 45 minutes and then straight into the houses. So the essence here really is speed and trying to keep them warm.
It's treat time at the park, and alpha male Tom is determined to get his hands on them. And there's bad news for Aris in the orangutan house. A couple of days ago, he had a knee operation, but something has gone seriously wrong.
The next morning, he was found effectively in a state as if he'd had, in simple terms, some kind of stroke.
Monkey World has been rescuing primates from all over the globe for 21 years.
I just have a question for the layout of the house now.
But it has never been involved in an operation as big as this one. Rehoming 88 capuchin monkeys from a research laboratory in Chile, South America. It's been a massive task. But today, after a 2-day flight, the capuchins have finally landed in the UK. They've been flown by the Chilean Air Force, and on the ground, the military procedure continues.
Very emotional time. This is the end of a long, long project. Didn't know if we would get 88 here fit and well, but I think we've done it. I think we've bloody done it, and they're all going to have a chance to live proper lives again. Perfect.
All 88 capuchins have survived the journey and are looking remarkably at ease. Now they want to get them safely back to Monkey World as quickly as possible.
It's a bit chilly, so we've got to hurry up and try and get them off into the vehicles, and the trip back to Monkey World should be about 45 minutes and then straight into the houses. So the essence here really is speed and trying to keep them warm.
For many of the capuchins, this is the first time they've ever seen daylight. In less than an hour, the capuchins will begin the rest of their new lives at Monkey World. Later, the primate care staff finally meet the new residents, and after a lifetime in solitary confinement, they are amazed to discover that some capuchins are showing signs of natural behaviour.
This one down here has actually started scent rubbing itself with its onion, which is a behaviour you see in wild capuchins.
And it's treat time for the squirrel monkeys. Jelly and ice cream, monkey style. But some still prefer their insects au naturel. The new 88 capuchins will soon be living with Monkey World's 4 existing capuchins. These primates are the most intelligent of the small monkeys, so the park is constantly thinking up new ways to stimulate them. Today, they're placing these cups filled with yogurt just outside the enclosure. So will the capuchins work out how to get to them? First up, it's the alpha male of the group, Tom. And he's here to show the others just how it's done. Tom loves his food, and nothing is going to stand between him and that yogurt. Nothing, that is, except for his short, fat arms. Tom is not a happy monkey. To add to Tom's frustration, TJ has long, slender arms, and he reaches the cup easily. There's only one thing for it. Tom's gonna have to confiscate TJ's yogurt. He is the boss, after all. It's time for Gizmo to have a go. He's the shyest member of the troupe, but he is clever. Capuchins often use sticks as tools in the wild to bring things closer to them, and that's just what Gizmo's doing to bring one of those cups closer. TJ's following Gizmo's lead. He's found a stick that's just the right size. Now he's carefully reshaping it so it's perfect for the job. Tom realises that this is the way to get hold of the yoghurt, and he's found his own stick. Unfortunately, it's a rubbish stick, and he gives up in a strop. Ah well, he can always pinch TJ's stick. He is the boss, after all. At the moment, Tom gets what he wants, when he wants. But he may not be the boss for much longer, because... across the park, the 88 Capuchins have finally arrived to join him and his little troop. But before Tom can meet his new family, all 88 Capuchins will be unloaded into a holding area to recover from their 7,000-mile journey.
Yeah, do you want to go to the big area first or the small area?
What do you want to do? We don't know which ones are going to end up in there at the moment.
Doesn't really matter.
So we fill the big area first?
I would fill the big area and then
Away we go then, let's do that.
The primate care staff have waited a long time for this day, but it has finally arrived. And they are all on hand to unload and look after the vast number of animals. Some of the 88 Capuchins are old and in poor health, so the team hadn't expected them all to survive the journey. But incredibly, they all did. And the primate care staff are impressed with how well they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's obviously the day we've been waiting for, from plans on a piece of paper to actually them all turning up and they're all alive and well and they're all chirping. They're all just such different characters, so yeah, it's such an amazing day and it's great that we finally got there. But we're all positive about getting these animals into groups and the future for them at Monkey World.
The wooden lids and stuff, we can stack them.
This has been the park's biggest rescue ever, so it's an emotional and exciting time.
I think that's everybody now unloaded and we're just double checking everybody, getting them all watered and fed. Yeah, I think we're good. Everybody's here, all 88. Fantastic.
Transporting the Capuchins was a mammoth task, and 30-year-old Gorilla needed extra attention throughout the journey because he had surgery for an abscess in his tooth before leaving Chile.
The abscess that he had in his tooth that was coming up on his face has actually, over the flight time, erupted out. So it's actually relieved a lot of pressure and let a lot of the pus that was trapped up in his sinus, it's let it out. So actually he's healing up really well. He's feeling a lot more comfortable and, as you can see, a lot more perky. So really pleased, he's made the journey really well. He's an old boy. At 30 years old, he's only got probably another 5 to 8 years left in him, really. And, you know, he's taken the journey really quite well.
It's taken the team 3 hours to unload and feed all 88 Capuchins. They'll be left here overnight to settle, and in the morning they'll be split into 2 groups. Although they could see one another in the laboratory, the majority of them never made physical contact. So integrating them into social groups is going to be a big challenge.
Some of these individuals are just going to take like a duck to water, being with others of their own kind and perhaps getting a more natural environment here at the park, and others are just going to be so shot away from what's happened to them over their lifetime that there's not going to be a lot of hope for them. So we'll just have to wait and see how each individual pans out. But that's why we took the 88. We wanted to give everybody an opportunity to have a good life and a more natural life.
Despite their unnatural backgrounds, amazingly, some of the monkeys are showing natural behaviour.
This one down here has actually started scent rubbing itself with its onion, which is a behaviour you see in wild capuchins, and we're sort of encouraging the 4 capuchins we've got here. It could be a way of putting an insect repellent on themselves, or sort of a way of protecting their skin a bit, and they sort of bite into it and salivate and then rub the juices all over themselves. Really enjoying it. They sort of go almost into a little trance when they do it.
The fact that these capuchins still retain some natural behaviour is an encouraging sign, and it's hoped that this will help them bond as a group, just like they would in the wild. But while the majority of the primate care staff work into the night to look after the new arrivals, Penny and Colin have been called next door to the orangutan house. 4-year-old Aris is extremely unwell.
Usually Aris is always running around, never lying down like that. I mean, this is unheard of. This is just not Aris at all. He's just really lethargic. He's just got no energy. He's sleeping all the time. He's not drinking. He's not eating. He's just not Aris, really. He's what more can I say, really? He's just not him.
3 days ago, Aris had an operation to clean a knee injury. The procedure went well, and he had no problems coming round from the anaesthetic, but now he's taken a turn for the worse.
He has little periods of being awake, in that he'll stretch and yawn, possibly even squeak, grind his teeth a little bit, and then back to this situation here. So it's still a case of wait and see.
It's an extremely worrying time. No one knows what has happened to Aris, so vet Mike Nathan is making an emergency visit to the park.
We'll be with him all night and just keep an eye on him, be checking his heart rate every now and again, and also his breathing as well, and taking his temperature, just to keep a close eye on him, and obviously if I can try and coax some fluids down him as well, but at the moment he's generally not that interested in that bit. We'll keep going.
And coming up, will a tough decision have to be made?
But ultimately, you've got to ask yourself, you have an animal here. If we can't give them a quality of life, we shouldn't let them suffer.
At Monkey World Rescue Centre, Orangutan Aris is seriously unwell. Vet Mike Nathan has been urgently called in.
Well, he recovered, as far as I'm aware, well from the operation. He was a bit doddery in the late evening, and the next morning he was found effectively in a state as if he'd had, in simple terms, some kind of stroke. I think he's had a vascular accident. Something has gone wrong up here, which is almost certainly the result of going through the surgery. Even though the surgery wasn't intense, it was something we had to do. So this is really quite sad and unfortunate. Now, he's left almost in a sort of zombie-like state. He comes in and out of consciousness, and he's getting slowly worse in spite of the things we're trying to do.
The main concern for the team is that Aris is as comfortable as possible, but they're still unsure of how much damage has been done.
Yesterday he still had his knee reflex and pupil reflex, which would, you know, make his chances quite good.
We've got to give him a. You've got to give him a cut-off. We've got to say this is what we want to see. If he's not improving, we have to say we're a rescue centre. We are trying to give him a quality of life.
It's likely that Aris has suffered some sort of stroke that was probably caused by a blood clot in his brain. He's having problems swallowing, but it's crucial he's kept hydrated. He's been put on a drip and Penny is wetting his mouth.
We'll dribble it out, but basically it's to just try and make that mouth feel a bit more comfortable for him. He's not going to take anything properly because he's swallowing and then choking a little bit, but she's going to do some physio with him and try and keep that moving, and we've just shown her the sorts of things you can do, and I think he's better sitting up than lying out flat. If he does lie out flat, you've got to change his position all the time because he'll get fluid then collecting in different parts of his lung, which won't make him a comfortable boy at all.
The team has to make some difficult decisions when animals fall ill, And that's just what they have to do with Aris now.
Ultimately, you've got to ask yourself, you have an animal here that is here because we're a rescue centre. If they can't have a quality of life, we shouldn't let them suffer. And I don't know when if he comes out of this, whether he's going to be brain damaged. If he were human, you'd be giving him time and time again, and you'd be, you know, going for things, because you can put us through all those things, and people will look at that quality of life and say, well, okay, he's going to be confined to a wheelchair or whatever, but we've still got our mental intellect with luck. If he doesn't even have that ability, what are we doing to him? And I've also got to think that the staff here, you know, they know these animals individually. It matters to them what the quality of life is going to be, and none of us want to see an animal who has no quality of life.
This has come about after a routine operation, and it's a shock to everyone.
I'm upset that it's happened. We were very happy with how it had all gone, how we'd all handled it. We went into it for the right reasons. Never happened to us before. I've never seen it in my veterinary career, but you hear about it, it happens. And I don't think that we've done anything incorrectly. So it's very, very sad.
Aris is on medication to try and stabilise his condition. A blood test will also be sent to the lab to monitor his progress. And later, the results of the blood tests are back.
How low is it?
But is there any hope for Aris? Monkey World is home to 3 squirrel monkeys and 14 marmosets. In the wild, they both come from South America, and here at the park, some of them share an enclosure. These primates are very small. In fact, a marmoset isn't much bigger than a human's hand. But despite their small size, both the squirrel monkeys and marmosets have big appetites, especially for insects, and they'll literally do anything to get their hands on them. So today the team have come up with a real treat for them: insects in jelly. This might look horrible to us, but to these guys, this is about as good as it gets. In the wild, squirrel monkeys spend more than half their day foraging for insects. So the team are constantly thinking of new ways to make them work hard for their food. The squirrel monkeys are dominant over the marmosets, so they get to investigate the jellied insects first. Alien is a bossy and curious female. She goes straight to the food, but she's not sure of that jelly, so she quickly grabs a creepy crawly and heads off. The marmosets are even more wary of that jelly than the squirrel monkeys. They're not even willing to pick out the insects. Unlike the squirrel monkeys, who are now all picking their way through the sticky jelly to get to those delicious bugs. These 3 were rescued from a laboratory in Holland, and until coming here, they'd never been outside. Now they spend their days enjoying their specially designed enclosure. It's been planted to attract insects. A squirrel monkey extravaganza. Here they can live and forage as naturally as possible. And even if bugs in jelly is not quite to their liking, it is interesting, and the insects still taste great. At the Orang-utan house, Monkey World's vet Femke is discussing Aris's blood results.
How low is it?
They need to ensure Aris's vital organs are still functioning correctly. They can tell this from the chemical composition of his blood.
So the blood results show actually that the electrolytes are all within the normal values, which is great. Things like potassium and chloride and bicarbonate, they're all within the normal values, because sometimes when animals get dehydrated, those electrolytes, they're called, they go off balance and you have to correct them, but they're still fine, so that's good news. But the glucose is a bit low, which is to be expected because he hasn't eaten in a few days. So we're going to give him some glucose as well, but for the rest actually there wasn't very much to see on the blood results. So Aris hasn't gone any worse, but he hasn't gone any better. His mental state is still the same actually.
It's good that Aris isn't getting worse, but he also isn't improving. It's a hugely worrying time for the team. Over the next 24 hours, they'll continue to closely monitor and care for him.
Just a question of maintaining him for the time being until we decide whether he's getting worse or if he's showing any sign of getting better. Any sign of getting better is a positive. If he's just staying as he is, if he's getting worse, it's not going to be fair, and we'll let him go. All right, so fingers crossed.
Come on. Oh, Missy. Can't lose you. You've got one of the biggest characters.
And next time, Aris's intensive care continues. But has there been any improvement in his condition?
Half the battle when you're that poorly is sort of keeping the will to live.
The woolly monkey baby finally gets a name. And the alpha male chimpanzees show their troops just who's boss. But could there be an alpha male take over brewing?
With Paco, he's starting to find his feet within the structure of the boys, and he's finding his way up to the top.
This is Monkey World in Dorset, the largest ape and monkey rescue centre on the planet. Today on Monkey Life, the alpha male chimpanzees show their troops what it takes to be boss. But could there be an alpha male takeover brewing?
With Paco, he's starting to find his feet within the structure of the boys, and he's finding his way up to the top.
The woolly monkey baby finally gets a name. And after a routine operation, young Orangutan Aris suffered a stroke. But has there been any improvement in his condition?
Half the battle when you're that poorly is sort of keeping the will to live.
Of the 260 primates at Monkey World, many live in established family groups. The park's adult chimpanzees are split into 3 troops. And there is a strict hierarchy within each group, headed up by the alpha male. Becoming an alpha male isn't easy. You have to be good at dominance displays, intimidation, and alliance forming to reach the top. Monkey World's 3 alpha males are Paddy, Hananya, and Butch. And the 3 leaders couldn't be more different. Paddy is an old hand at the job. He's been leader for 18 years, and he keeps his troop in check with spectacular charging displays. And they show him respect through submissive postures and gestures. Paddy doesn't just bully his group into submission, he's a highly skilled leader. He looks after the other chimps and understands the needs of others, however big or small. And he's very careful to keep the females on his side. That way, he keeps a peaceful troop, and nobody is in any doubt as to who the leader is. Hananya is the youngest of the three bosses, and he's still got a lot to learn about running a chimp troop. He's only 14, but he's slowly discovering the benefits that come with being the boss. More girls, better grub, and lots of attention. Hananya is popular with all the chimps, but he doesn't always display the dominance that he should, so they sometimes take advantage of him. But he's beginning to get there. Over the coming months and years, relationships within this troop will change, and it'll be a test of Hananya's leadership as to how he deals with them. The last of the alpha males is the slightly unhinged Butch. He's in charge of the bachelor pad, where life can go from peace and quiet to mayhem in the blink of an eye. Butch maintains the top spot by asserting his strength and by keeping the other large males on his side. But being alpha male of the bachelor boys is no easy job. Butch has a strong, if slightly unpredictable, personality, and this helped him get to the top of this boisterous group. To stay as a leader, though, Butch is going to have to keep acting like a leader, and that's hard work. But whilst it's tough at the top, one thing's for certain: if you're a good boss, life can be sweet. Later, the alpha males are on their guard. They never know when another chimp might make a challenge to their leadership. It's been a busy few weeks for the naughtiest chimp in the park, 8-year-old Sheamus. And today, he's outside for the first time with his new group, the Bachelor Boys. Sheamus has always been cheeky. There was always the danger that he would push his luck with the boisterous bachelors and get hurt. But Jeremy planned his integration into the group carefully, and, cheeky or not, he's turned out to be a popular addition.
He has so really surprised me. The thing we were hoping for is that the little boy, Seamus, is a nice thing rather than a bad thing. You know, he might be a pain in the neck, he might be a drag, but because he's a little boy, he gets away with it. Now, had he been more of a older teenager-y sort, then they don't get away with so much. You want to give them a slap. But he's still young enough that you've got a bit of the little boy R factor, and let's play with the little boy, which so far seems to be working.
At the moment, Sheamus is behaving just as he did in the nursery. He's cheeky, boisterous, playful, and a little bit stupid. He's met almost half of the Bachelor Boys, and he seems to be friends with just about everyone. If anybody can persuade a reluctant chimp to play, it's Sheamus. And he's great pals with big male Jimmy. This is going to help Sheamus out as he meets the other top males, particularly the boss, Butch. Which is when his behaviour may just have to change. He's going to have to calm down and toe the line. He is, after all, at the bottom of the pecking order now.
I think at the moment, a bit of a slap wouldn't hurt Sheamus, because, you know, so far everybody's playing nicely with him, and at some stage in his life, somebody's going to turn around and take a swing at him. And I'm really kind of hoping, without wanting to sound spiteful, that it happens sooner rather than later, so that he learns that lesson, because he's going to have to learn that lesson at some point.
But so far, Sheamus is fitting in very well and shaping up to be a perfect member of the group. In fact, all this new activity seems to be tiring him out. Monkey World is home to so many primates that illness is inevitable. Four days ago, Orangutan Aris became extremely unwell after a routine operation on his knee. It's thought Aris suffered a stroke that was probably caused by a blood clot in his brain. Despite expert care, the 4-year-old wasn't improving. As difficult as it is for the dedicated primate care staff, they have to do what's right for the animal. Yesterday, Aris was given 24 hours to improve. Unfortunately, he didn't, and sadly, they had to put him to sleep.
We don't always get the results that we're aiming for, and in Aris's case, we lost him. Actually, in the end, we had to make the decision ourselves that the best thing to do for Aris and his welfare was to let him drift away and to put him to sleep. We didn't and couldn't actually carry on nursing him the way that he was requiring, and his condition wasn't improving and showed no signs of improvement. And between John Lewis, Mike Nathan, and Femke, and everybody working very hard, and all of the primate care staff giving him all of that attention and nursing, he just wasn't responding and wasn't getting better. And he had drifted effectively into a vegetative state. So for Aris's sake, the kindest thing was to put him to sleep. So that's the tough decision that we had to take.
The primate care staff dedicate their lives to looking after all the monkeys and apes here at the park, and this was a particularly tough time for them.
We do sort of follow up on them in the following days and make sure that they're not feeling disheartened, because, you know, there are others out there that need their attention today. So we have to make sure that morale stays good and that they keep focus on all of those other faces out there that need them.
Aris came to the park 3 years ago, and he immediately made an impression.
We're all just going to desperately miss Aris because he was a lovely little lad and quite a character. He was, from the moment he got here, very focused, very strong-willed, but, you know, I guess he had to be, because growing up with a bunch of hooligan gorillas, you know, he sort of had to have a tough attitude or he was going to sink in there, quite frankly. So, you know, he always was very opinionated, quite rambunctious. He liked, you know, tearing hunks out of Jeremy, Jim, or Colin's knee.
But there was also a softer side to Aris. He loved playing with the babies in the Orang creche. The 4-year-old had a true zest for life.
He really was an important part of the nursery group, and just, you know, an incredible, lovely character in himself. So yeah, Aris is going to be greatly missed by orangutan and primate care staff and everybody here at the park.
Coming up, it's been 7 weeks since the birth of the baby woolly monkey, and now he's finally getting a name. And after a 3-year struggle, Chimp Hananya finally becomes a real leader. At Monkey World in Dorset, the structure of the 3 adult chimp groups mirrors that of troops in the wild, with an alpha male at the top. But for one leader, Hananya, it's not been easy. He's only 14, and he's been wary about asserting his authority since taking over. He's been reluctant to step in when the other males tease the females. And he hasn't liked showing who's boss at mealtimes, often letting the other chimps eat first. But now, it looks like Hananya's finally decided it's time for a change. His second in command is Tico, and Hananya's showing him that he's definitely in charge and isn't in the mood for any nonsense. This is a clever move. Tico is Hananya's only real challenge to the leadership, and he looks petrified by Hananya's display of dominance. Tico's submissive behaviour also shows the other chimps that Hananya is the boss, and that they too should fall in line. It looks like Hananya has finally won the respect of the troop. At last, this alpha male means business. Later. Is someone in the Bachelor Boys after Boss Butch's job? Over in the office, there's one little primate who's growing up very quickly. This baby woolly monkey is now almost 7 weeks old, and he's been given a name.
There aren't that many babies, of course, that we've been naming because we don't breed all that many primates. But last week, we sort of came up with a list of names that, you know, the primate care staff had put forward and so on. And we all decided to christen him Paolo. So this is young Paolo. Woolly monkeys are from South America, so a Latin name would potentially be appropriate, hence Paolo it is. Hey, little man.
Paolo had a difficult start in life. He didn't feed from his mum, Kuna, so the team made the decision to hand-rear him.
Good boy.
The staff also had to hand-rear Kuna's previous baby, Julio. But when they were born, these two monkeys couldn't have been more different. Paolo was much heavier than Julio and already had a few teeth. And now Paolo's even eating solids 2 weeks earlier than his half-brother.
You know, he was ready to go and quite enthusiastic. You can see right now I'm mixing up some baby rice with banana with some of his milk, and he just loves his solids. He gets all excited about it, and I have to sort of hold his little hands down because otherwise they go shooting up and I end up with baby rice everywhere, my hair, clothing.
Just like human babies, Paolo is being weaned on a variety of solids from baby rice and bananas to his favourite, juicy grapes.
I used to peel the grapes for the first few days, but now I give it to him with the skin on, and sometimes he eats them down, don't you? And sometimes the skin gets sometimes the skin gets spat out afterwards, but the faces he pulls when he's chewing just crack me up. He's got a little wrinkly old man face, but, you know, he's just a baby.
The team looked after Julio for 7 months before he went to live with his woolly monkey family full-time. But because Paolo is developing so quickly, it's hoped he'll have an earlier introduction to life as a woolly monkey.
The sooner he's eating by himself and eating solid foods, you know, the vast majority of his diet, we can get him back in with the group. So this is all very good for his future prospects. It means he'll be back with the woolly monkeys sooner rather than later.
Over with the bachelor chimp group, Butch is the alpha male. He's good at keeping the peace and maintains a strict hierarchy. Although his troop respects him, lately there have been signs that Paco might be keen to take over Butch's role.
What we've noticed with Paco is he's doing more displays. Not necessarily at anyone, but, you know, he's a big adult male now. He really has filled out a hell of a lot. So he's at the period now in his life where if he wants to display, he will just go off and display at anyone. You know, he's starting to find his feet within the structure of the boys, and he's finding his way up to the top.
Paco has lived with the boys for 2 years now. When he first joined them, he seemed uncomfortable and was nervous around alpha male Butch. Today, he's a very different chimp.
He's slowly but surely working his way through. Even though he comes across a little bit laid back and stupid, he's not. You know, he's a fairly intelligent chimp. And I think he's learnt the politics of the bachelor boys really, really well. You know, it's a difficult group to be in. You have to find your place within the boys. You know, it's boisterous. That's why we got them here. They get on well together, but you have to find your place. And I think Paco has worked that very, very well.
In the wild, most aggression between males takes place when they jostle for position within the social hierarchy. Intimidation through dramatic charging displays is common. How long an alpha male stays in charge depends on several things. Whether the group continues to support him as boss, if there are rival males, or if he gets injured or falls ill. Chimpanzee life is volatile, and squabbles can flare up from nowhere. If there's going to be a fight for leadership between Butch and Paco, it could happen at any time. But the end result could be fatal. It was only 3 years ago the park witnessed this firsthand. Hananya was second in command in Rodney's group. He was displaying as frequently as Paco is now, and it ended with him challenging Rodney for the leadership. Rodney was seriously injured, and despite treatment, the shock was just too much for him. He later suffered a heart attack and died. In the bachelor pad, Butch is still holding on to his position as alpha male, and his group are happy to back him by putting Paco in his place. While the troop continues to support Butch, his position at the top will remain safe.
Butch is still the alpha male of the bachelor boys. He probably will be for a couple more years, 5, 10 years, who knows? You know, it's a very close thing, and you know, all the primate care staff are keeping a very close eye on it. But at the moment, there hasn't been a definite challenge for any leadership. It's just that we've noticed that when Paco displays, everybody sort of moves out of his way. So that's a subtle change, and subtle changes can suddenly just explode.
It's likely Paco is practicing his threat displays to test Butch's leadership, and his outbursts are becoming more and more impressive. While this isn't an immediate threat to Butch, he definitely needs to watch out for Paco's increasing self-confidence. Butch had better enjoy his time as leader, because he may not have much left. For all the primates here at the park, no 2 days are ever the same, and in the unpredictable world of chimp politics, you never know what's going to happen next.